Windows 2000 is now over 16 years old. However, it's still possible to install and run the latest versions of various modern software on Windows 2000. How is this possible? In this video, I'll show you how to update Windows 2000 up to its end of life, as well as install and configure the unofficial hotfixes that will allow us to run contemporary software titles on Windows 2000. Let's get started. The first prerequisite is to get Windows 2000 fully updated to its final patch Tuesday. Unfortunately, this is a multi-step process, but I'll outline everything you need to do. Step 1 is to make sure you have Service Pack 4 installed. You may already have it installed, so to make sure, right-click on My Computer on the desktop and click Properties. Looking inside this dialog, if it does not say Service Pack 4, you need to download and install it from the link in the description before continuing. Step 2 is to update Internet Explorer. And yes, this is a mandatory and critical step. Download and install Internet Explorer 6 from the link down in the description. Disregard the fact that this version of Internet Explorer was customized for distribution by AOL. This was simply the most up-to-date installer for Internet Explorer 6 with Service Pack 1 that I could find online. And don't worry, you don't actually have to use Internet Explorer, we simply need the updated system files that are provided by this installer. That being said, let it finish installing and click OK to restart your computer. Once you log back into Windows, we need to immediately install an official hotfix package called Update Rollup 1. The download link I'll post in the description of the video for this installer is about 32 megabytes in size and will automatically install several updates that we need. Let it do its thing and click Finish when it's done to restart your computer. Now, it might not seem like we're getting anywhere at all, but don't worry, we're almost at the end, and believe me that everything we're doing is absolutely required. Now you need to download and install two separate files. Both of these executables are fairly small and should only take a few seconds to download from the link in the description. Start by running the Windows Update Agent 30 executable and going through the installation process. This will install the latest Windows Update website compatible with Windows 2000. It has a valid digital signature signed by Microsoft, so it's guaranteed malware free. After that's installed, run the Roots Update executable. This will update the root certificates for secure websites and trusted digital signatures, and was unofficially compiled by an enthusiast known as Blackwing Cat. As you may have guessed by how we updated the Windows Update Agent, we're trying to launch Windows Update. However, we need to change two small but crucial settings before we are able to run it. Open the Start menu, click on Settings, and open up the control panel. Here, double-click on the icon labeled Internet Options, and on the row of tabs on the top, click on Advanced, and uncheck this box labeled Automatically Check for Internet Explorer Updates, and then scroll down to the bottom definitions without any problems. Likewise, the latest version of VLC Media Player plays videos and music perfectly as well. So in conclusion, yes, it is definitely possible to install the latest versions of contemporary software on Windows 2000. With the kernel extension, you can theoretically install any XP app on Windows 2000 with no problems at all. When you pair the Windows 10 Anniversary Update with an old PC, how well does it run? What we have here is one of the oldest computers that Windows 10 can be installed on. This is an IBM ThinkCentre small form factor desktop powered by an Intel Pentium 4 with hyperthreading running at 3.2 GHz. It's also maxed out at 2 GB of RAM. So not exactly cutting edge specs, but how does Windows 10 build 14393 hold up to this aging hardware? Let's find out. Starting off, I definitely believe that the Windows 10 Anniversary Update is running much better than Windows 10 RTM did on this computer. For example, opening up the Task Manager before would take some time, but now it snaps right open. As you can see here, the CPU is idling at around 2% utilization, which is definitely not bad. And even though it shows two CPU usage graphs here, this is not a dual-core processor. The Pentium 4 HT is just a hyperthreading CPU, which simply gives you two virtual threads and not two physical cores. Just like Windows 8, the memory usage really isn't bad. However, if you only had 1 GB of RAM, which was the original for this computer, it probably wouldn't run very well. With at least 2 GB like this computer here, with its DDR400 memory, Windows 8 and above will be pretty decent. But the legitimate question is, how decent is it really per se? Now, even though Microsoft Edge is all the rage these days, I'll show you Internet Explorer because it's now actually usable as a web browser, at least on operating systems newer than Windows 7. As you can see here, this is definitely Internet Explorer 11 running on Windows 10. And I guess I'll load up Reddit here, and as you can see, that definitely wasn't too bad. It scrolls pretty well, pretty smoothly up and down the page as you would expect on a modern computer. So IE on Windows 10 on a Pentium 4 is definitely usable for basic web browsing. This is actually much better than before the anniversary update. Before the update, the whole browser would hang when I tried to open any web page at all, so performance has definitely improved with the anniversary update for Windows 10. Obviously, the next question is, can it play YouTube? Let's find out. Of course, playing YouTube videos at a decent frame rate is a significant feat on any old computer, as many computers from this era are unable to play YouTube videos at a decent quality using Flash Player. But since it's probably going to default to using the HTML5 player, it will be interesting to see how this holds up to such old hardware. Alright, so here it is playing a YouTube video, and it really isn't half bad. I'm guessing that HTML5 performance is improved on Windows 10 and IE because this computer doesn't have an add-in video card or anything. Right now it just has the standard onboard Intel GMA 900 video, so it's not like it has a graphics card. But this is playing at 480p with annotations disabled, and there are really no frame drops to speak of just by looking at it. Of course, it can't play HD using Flash Player or the HTML5 player, but believe it or not, this is actually performing somewhat better than my main computer, which has an AMD Athlon 64 3200 Plus running Windows 7. So yeah, this isn't half bad at all. Although I have to say, installing the Windows XP driver for the integrated graphics was a bit of a sketchy process, but I digress. Okay, so as you saw there, the CPU usage was actually relatively moderate when playing a YouTube video in full screen, which at the very least impressed me. But let's take a closer look at the CPU. As you can see, this PC is rocking a Pentium 4 640 clocked at 3.2 GHz with 2 megs of level 2 cache. This is a 775 Prescott chip, which is notorious for running hot, and this one is definitely no exception. The CPU fans kick up to full speed whenever anything happens, but that's mostly because they need to be cleaned, and since this has a Prescott, it has a front side bus of 800 megatransfers per second. And no, before you say anything, this computer cannot be upgraded to a Core 2 Duo because the chipset does not support it. This board has the 915 chipset and unfortunately not the 945. But as you can see, here are the 2 gigs of RAM, which is the max because there are only 2 DIMM slots on the motherboard, and this uses the old DDR1 memory standard. So in conclusion, the Windows 10 anniversary update performs reasonably well on older computers. Windows 10 is definitely not the fastest, especially compared to Windows 8.1 on older computers, but the anniversary update performs much better than the RTM version of Windows 10. And I think since I have lots of these decommissioned IBM ThinkCenters, I'll be leaving Windows 10 running on this one as its main operating system.